Through my many years as a watch reviewer, I have reviewed a lot of watches, some real weird ones. However, I had never reviewed a watch that is semi-spherical until this one. And that is what we are going to be talking about in this video. Because French microbrand Omnis have released this appropriately named Sphere watch. And as it is so weird, I really wanted you to have a look at it and then to decide if it was something that is worth your cash or not. And we are going to try and answer the most intriguing question about this watch besides from the Sphere. How on earth do you tell the time? Well, let's talk about it in this video. A real quick intro to Omnis watches. As I said in the intro, they're a French micro, really quite recent, only founded in 2023. They have an array of original models which make use of really interesting materials such as carbon and ceramic. They even have a showroom which is fairly next to the Arc de Triomphe, so if you're in Paris, you can go ahead and pay them a visit and say hello to François, the owner. Just so we're clear, the brand gifted me this watch so I can review it in this video, but you know me, I always speak my mind about any watches that I have, so I have quite a lot of negatives as I do positives of this watch. And if it interests you, they have left me a coupon which is called Horologique and which will take 10% off your next purchase of anything on the Omnis website. So make use of that if you're interested in any of their models. We're going to start by the classic dimensions, although they're not very classic in this instance. You've got a diameter of 40.7 millimeters, a height, and that is the important part, at the utmost part of that very tall sphere of 17.4 millimeters, a log-to-log of 48.6 millimeters, and a log width of 20 millimeters, and the weight is 93 grams. Inside this thing you've got a Miura 8215, and as François let me know, this watch is very much inspired by the widely unaffordable MB&F Thunderdome. However, besides from the unusual spherical shape, there's nothing resembling the Thunderdome in here. Let's go back to the question we asked in the intro: how do you tell the time in this watch? Well, it's not actually that hard. Take a look at those big Arabic numerals from 1 to 12. As you might have imagined, they represent the hours, and they are seated on an hour plate which rotates clockwise. Notice that big H at 6? Just read the number where that big H intersects with the hour plate, and you've got the hour. It's that simple. For example, here you can see that it is somewhere between 3 and 4. 3:30 to be specific in this time. The fact that the hour plate is inclined at around 45 degrees means that you can actually read the hour from an inclined angle, even when your hand is resting on a keyboard or on a car wheel. Very useful that. You want to accurately read the minutes, then pay attention to the uppermost ring of the dial and where it intersects with that big spaceship face disc tip. Speaking about the seconds, they are in the shape of a whirlwind and they're dead at the center of the dial. And as they have 3 similar tips, you cannot tell the time to the seconds accuracy, but it is worth the spectacle of seeing it spin. And then there is the domed crystal. We are not talking highly domed, we are talking domed to the extreme. So much so that even though the height of the crystal culminates at 17.4 millimeters, the thickness of the watch is only 10.9 millimeters when not taking into account this crystal, which means that the crystal is actually 6.5 millimeters thick. One of the tricks of the sleeve of this watch, one that I was really not expecting, is the fact that it has some lume. Yes, those big numerals are filled with lume, as is the big H, negatively though, as are the hour and the second plates. And even though the loom doesn't last that long, it is very interesting that they decided to put any at all. The case is interesting as well, with its curving lugs prolongating the curvature of the glass. The top of the lugs is brushed and the sides of the watch are polished and are decorated with very thin creases. And that is a quite cool detail. When you look at the back of the watch, you're gonna see some specs and a see-through case back through which you can see the Miura 8215. The movement itself is not really interesting, it's quite pedestrian actually, but the rotor itself is quite interesting. It is decorated with some arabesque, signed Omnis, that will allow me to speak about the movement. The 8215 gets a lot of bad rep, kind of deservedly so. On the good part, it is a very reliable movement, quite inexpensive though. It will tick, you can throw anything you want at it, it'll keep on ticking. It is dependable enough. However, it will be really noisy, and it is no exception here. You can hear it, so if that is something that annoys you, just know about it. It will not win any accuracy test either, although mine is ticking quite okay at around the plus 10 seconds a day. I would really have preferred the NH35, which is far less noise than this one and has pretty much the same specs and reputation as the Miura. Well, let's talk about the positives and the negatives. On the positive part, you've got this very original watch, so if you're looking for something out of the ordinary, this is the watch that is out there for you. If you're looking for a spherical watch, I don't know how many of you are, some people out there may be, and you cannot afford the MB&F Thunderdome, there's always this one. The reading of the hour is really original, and I commend Omnis for that. The fact that you can also read the hour from many angles, even though your wrist is really almost horizontal, is also a very big plus. It is really useful, believe it or not. Especially in our modern world, when our hand is a lot of the time resting on a keyboard. Also, there's a nice materials used. You've got that really domed sapphire crystal, because yes, it is sapphire. You've got the stainless steel case. Everything is good and everything is quite high quality in here. And of course, a nice detail, a nice surprise in here, you've got the loom. For the negative parts, I would have really wanted to get an NH35 in here. The Miura is quite noisy. If that is something that doesn't bother you, then that's fine, but some people are going to be bothered by it. It wobbles also, so do know that. And at $550, this watch is kind of expensive, although know that with the code you've got a 10% off, so that is not too bad. But still, with that movement, will the originality of the watch be enough to counterbalance all that? That is for you to decide. As for me, I think that it is a very cool watch for people who have experienced other watches before. Don't go and buy this watch if it is one of your first, or if you're just starting collecting watches. This is for more seasoned collectors that want to see something else, something new, a new way to tell the time, and that are willing to trust a microband that is fairly new. That's been it for the review. Why not check the review of the Siga Design Blue Planet, which is in some aspects similar to this watch, minus the extremely high dome, with also a really peculiar way of reading time. Thank you very much, and I'll be seeing you very soon. Goodbye.